If you're over 60 and you've begun waking up during the night to urinate more than once, or you sense that your bladder never fully empties, or you find yourself standing there for what seems like an eternity waiting for the flow to begin, I want you to pay close attention because these signs aren't simply a normal part of aging. They indicate that something more profound is occurring within your body, something that's far more widespread than most men understand. As a specialist in prostate health, I've observed it time and time again, and I'm here to share this with you. Your prostate is attempting to signal you. And in numerous instances, it's not your age that's behind the issue. It's your everyday routines. Subtle little actions you perform, perhaps without much thought, that cause your prostate to enlarge, become heavier, and tougher to control. But here's the positive part. Once you're aware of these routines, you can adjust them. And when you make those adjustments, you allow your body the opportunity to regain equilibrium, ease the strain, and reclaim ease. In this video, I'm going to guide you through 3 common daily habits that subtly lead to prostate growth and what you can begin doing differently. These habits are extremely prevalent, even in men who are otherwise fit. But when they repeat over the years, they burden your urinary tract, trigger inflammation, and gradually disrupt your prostate's balance. You'll discover what these habits involve, why they count, and what minor shifts you can implement right from today. If you're weary of the unease, the sudden urges, or the sense that your bladder is calling all the shots, this video is meant for you. And I'll state this plainly, you're not destined to endure these symptoms forever. Your body has the ability to recover, particularly when you eliminate what's persistently aggravating it. The initial habit that quietly expands your prostate as time passes is something straightforward, something nearly everyone is culpable of, particularly when we're out and about, occupied, or reluctant to use a public facility. It's delaying your urine for too long. Now, you may believe that holding off a bit extra while completing a task or heading home is nothing serious. But when this turns into a regular occurrence, postponing for extended periods before letting yourself release, you're building pressure, not only in the bladder, but across the whole prostate area. You see, your prostate is positioned right under your bladder, at its foundation, and it encircles your urethra like a pliable, supple band. This is the channel that transports urine from the bladder outward through the penis. Now picture that channel encircled by a loop. When that loop gets inflamed or constricted, it doesn't require much to hinder the process. When your bladder fills up excessively, whether from retaining urine on a lengthy drive, postponing it while viewing a film, or disregarding the signal during tasks, it begins to stretch both upward and downward. And that downward force presses directly onto the prostate. It's akin to pressing on a sponge that's already tender. The further the bladder expands, the more it compresses into the prostate tissue that's already handling a significant role. With time, this ongoing force induces minor yet significant alterations. What was once a supple prostate gets inflamed. The tissue thickens, edema develops, and for many men, this persistent stress emerges as one of the subtle forces behind prostate growth. Men who habitually put off urinating, especially those who pride themselves on enduring it or merely biding time until it's practical, frequently end up with what's known as bladder outlet obstruction. This occurs when the bladder is prepared to void, but the exit path is overly constricted. The bladder muscle has to labor more intensely to force through a narrowed passage because the prostate has grown bulkier and stiffer. It's not just unpleasant. It can lead to enduring weakening of the bladder as time goes on. This routine might appear innocuous. After all, what's a brief wait now and then? But to your body, it's comparable to repeatedly compelling a balloon to contain more air than it was meant to, day in and day out. In the end, it impacts the form, resilience, and performance. And unlike a balloon, your bladder and prostate don't burst. They adjust, and not always favorably. If you've fallen into the pattern of waiting until the urge feels almost intolerable, I softly urge you to alter that approach. Begin tuning into your bladder once more. Urinate when you sense the call, not when it escalates to desperation. Answering sooner eases the buildup and supports your whole urinary system in maintaining a smoother cadence. This may feel like a minor adjustment, but across the months, it can remove a massive burden from your prostate and provide it the room to settle, mend, and contract back closer to its usual size. Now let's move to the second habit. And this one catches many men off guard since it appears totally disconnected at first look. It's the routine of overlooking constipation. When your intestines are packed with hardened waste, particularly due to a fiber-deficient diet, that force bears right against the prostate's rear. This force isn't fleeting. It's unrelenting, like a weight resting against a sponge throughout the day. Every single day. It strains the tissue. It hampers blood flow. It aggravates the nerves and generates a mild inflammation that doesn't remain confined to the intestines. It extends to nearby areas, including the prostate. And here's the key point. Over time, that ongoing inflammation ranks as one of the primary factors in benign prostatic hyperplasia, or as most men refer to it, an enlarged prostate. But it goes further than that. Constipation also disrupts your inner balance. When waste lingers in the system too long, it imbalances your gut microbiome, that intricate community within your digestive path. When that harmony falters, it sparks body-wide inflammation impacting areas from your defenses to your prostate. The contemporary diet, especially for those in later years, often features excessive refined carbs, insufficient fiber, and plenty of packaged items, dairy-like cheese, red meats, and far too little hydration. These selections hinder digestion, harden the waist, and lead to intestinal backups, at times without you spotting it immediately. What begins as sporadic slowdown spirals into a harmful loop. Constipation generates force. That force inflames the prostate. The inflammation heightens the bloating, and the bloating intensifies your urinary issues. So if you're not eliminating consistently, or if your movements are firm, parched, or require effort, your prostate could be bearing the worst of that discord. Fortunately, the fix is accessible. You can start by softly boosting your fiber via natural, calming options. Consider incorporating more steamed veggies, fruits such as prunes or pears, intact grains like oats, and basic gut helpers like chia or milled flax. These not only ease your waist and enhance passage, but they also lessen the inner strain on your prostate from within. And when your intestines operate smoothly and fully, your prostate at last gets to unwind. It's like unclogging a jammed corridor. All proceeds more fluidly once the route is clear. Now, let's address the third habit, one that's remarkably widespread, particularly during retirement when schedules ease, and ease takes precedence over exertion. And that habit is remaining seated for extended durations without stirring. Whether it's unwinding before the TV, perched at a table with a mug of tea, browsing your device, or immersed in a fine novel in your preferred chair, the time can slip by swiftly, and suddenly, your form has stayed still, far beyond what's ideal. What seems restorative externally can turn stagnant internally. You see, the pelvic zone, home to your bladder, intestines, and prostate, is designed for gentle, ongoing activity. It flourishes with flow. It requires circulation and soft motion to deliver sustenance and clear debris. But when you remain seated for prolonged intervals without shifting, that lower region of your body stalls. Blood movement diminishes. Oxygen and essentials cease circulating smoothly. Lymph clearance falters, meaning your system grows less adept at expelling poisons and inflammatory remnants. And those residues begin accumulating precisely where your prostate resides. The prostate is a tender, sensitive organ. It's not equipped to endure perpetual stillness. Like any vital matter, it relies on solid circulation to remain sound. When that circulation is curtailed for hours daily, the prostate may inflame, puff up, and chafe. And gradually, this fosters the type of gradual, hushed expansion that results in prostate growth. Men who spend long stretches seated each day without weaving in activity face a much higher risk of pelvic tightness, ongoing subtle inflammation, and ultimately prostate swelling. And it typically unfolds without clear indicators until the unease, haste, or interrupted rest appears months or years down the line. That's why I suggest what I term movement bites spread across the day. These are brief, easy spurts of mild exertion, sufficient to rouse your flow and signal to your pelvic zone that it's still active and essential. You don't need to run. You don't have to perspire. Even a basic act like rising every 30 to 40 minutes, strolling to the other side of the space, inhaling deeply a few times while softly swaying your limbs, or easing your lower spine can revive vitality in that body section. Envision your prostate as a sponge. If it's never compressed, never shifted, it begins to rigidify and gather debris. But with even slight motion, you assist that sponge in remaining pliant, renewed, and properly fed. Motion isn't merely for fitness. It's for sustaining your body's center as lively, dynamic, and reactive, particularly the concealed sections you can't view, but which subtly influence your well-being, vitality, and daily satisfaction. Just a handful of intentional moments of motion each hour can aid in preserving your prostate's health for years ahead. So now you're informed. 3 understated daily habits that gradually foster prostate growth: delaying your urine excessively, skimping on fiber, and lingering seated for hours without motion. These aren't flashy problems, but that's their peril. They slip in quietly, and across the decades, they forge a realm of unease, haste, and irritation. But here's the strength in it all. Each of these habits can shift softly, progressively, and thoughtfully. You don't require a total life redo or a fresh beginning. You just need to foster mindfulness about how your routine decisions impact your prostate. I've witnessed men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s ease their symptoms, cut back on those middle-of-the-night bathroom visits, restore firmer streams, and sense greater comfort in their forms simply by tweaking these fundamental patterns. So, if you felt irritated, uneasy, or perhaps a touch worried about what's occurring below, draw in a steady breath. You're not isolated, and you're not helpless. Your prostate doesn't have to dominate your days. You can nurture it, just as it's been striving to nurture you. If this video proved useful, kindly subscribe and pass it along to a companion. Often, the mightiest shifts arise from the tiniest nuggets of insight. Thanks for viewing, and keep in mind, your well-being isn't in the past. It's yours to shape, and the finest lies ahead.